Let's be brutally honest right now. That's a big question.
I'm looking for someone who doesn't want to go to base camp, but they want to go to the very top.
Whether it's here, India, New York.
Civilization was born at happy hour.
That's what wins. That's what stands out. That's what people are interested in. That's what I want to know. The Hospopreneurs Podcast with James Henderson. Hello and welcome to episode 98 of the Hospopreneurs Podcast. Rebecca Gibbs and Andy El-Bayeh join me today as the founders of Example, one of the most reputable Australian PR companies across the food, drink, entertainment and lifestyle industries. In their words, Example helps brands to start and own the conversation. We look at the logic behind some of the design features of Example House, their collaborative workspace, how they foster that community, establish team dynamics and manage brands. There's even a story about Prince. Hello and welcome to the show, Rebecca and Andy.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, James.
Excited to chat.
It's a pleasure to have you on. I'm very excited to get into the interview today. As you know, the first question I like to ask is a crazy hospitality story. I'm sure you've seen some interesting things in the PR industry. Who would like to take this question?
I might start off. I'm very, very fond of this one, and considering that I grew up listening to the musical genius that he was, I was very fortunate to be able to put on a sideshow, an intimate sideshow for only 200 people for Prince in the Ivy Ballroom. We got told the morning of the show that this was going to happen, and we had to pull out at all stops to develop something that was going to be quite world class, but also intimate at the same time, but more so my nerves for meeting Prince. And I got to meet Prince, and in fact we got to share a lift, just the two of us, between a few levels between Ivy and Ivy Ballroom. So it was very, very exciting and quite the highlight of my career. That's
fantastic. So this world-class event, what did that end up looking like?
Well, you know what Merivale's like. They can't do anything that is not world class. So it had to be the most incredible show that would blow Prince's socks off himself. So we put out at all stops with all of our different suppliers and production partners, and even selecting the right crowd that would be at the event. So it was quite incredible.
Excellent. What was that?
I think Prince is known for doing like an intimate sideshow last minute at some of his great concerts all around the world, where it's quite unplugged. A few of his friends get on stage from that area. At the time, I think Seal was in the country, and Seal got up and did a few songs. Prince actually didn't really do a full set. I think he did a few songs that he sang, but just more so just jammed out on stage to electric guitar and his moves and his band having a great time. And so it was more of a social thing.
Beautiful. Did you ask him anything in the elevator?
Oh, I really wanted to. I mean, look, to be honest, I probably made it a lot bigger than what it sounds, but we shared 2 floors together.
15 seconds.
That's a long time with Prince, though.
Yeah.
Do you have a crazy story?
Well, I think we're quite fortunate, right? Because a lot of our stories, you have these amazing pinch me moments in our sort of respective industries and what we do. So I'd have to say one of my most memorable hospitality experiences is having dinner with Jamie Oliver in Jamie Oliver's restaurant, where he surprised a whole bunch of his staff, and he was exactly what you expected him to be, really chatty. He asked more questions about me than I asked of him, which I think is a pretty good indication of what someone's like. He was really wanting to know about my story and working together, and we just started working with him on his buyback of his Australian restaurants about 3 years ago now. But I think it's quite interesting around how hospitality can also sort of shape expectations or challenge those expectations of what you know about people. Because another funny story was when I was working in London, we looked after AC/DC for a couple of days and did loads of press interviews in a hotel room. And of course, AC/DC, you think of being these kind of crazy rockers, but they kind of were a little bit boring in that they only drank green tea and ate steamed chicken and steamed vegetables. And I'm like, this is not what I expected the 2 days to be like. On the other hand, we also looked after Keith Richards, and he was exactly what you would expected.
Wow,
so we did interviews at the Dorchester Hotel, and I was just checking media in as they were going to another room to have their sort of more in-depth chats with him. And I was just sitting there by myself, kind of doing emails, and in he walked straight over to the minibar, got a shot of vodka. It must have been about 10 a.m. in the morning, and necked that and went out the door again, never to be seen again. So
wow.
So it's quite nice how you kind of, I guess, hospitality plays into or challenges what you expect of someone based on simply what they drink or eat.
On that note, there's another one of our programs called the Leads podcast where I ask a question about hospitality riders and what's been on the hospitality riders. Did you see any crazy things on the riders of these people?
Do you know what? Riders can often be really like boring, or these people can kind of come in and out, but often the riders are there for more of their roadies and their crew as opposed to just them, really. So,
Absolutely.
Or their own entertainment.
yeah, just to see how they can push it.
Yeah.
That's right. And I think the riders are also part of like a wide tour that is just constantly just being given everywhere that they go. And I can't tell you the amount of times we put out riders for some really great acts and bands and celebrities, and you just literally see probably one drink's been taken from
Yeah.
Have you seen anything crazy on a rider?
Gosh. I think just excessive alcohol, to be perfectly honest,
it's
like
been a
which
lot
has
of
been like
alcohol.
5 people and you just see the most insane amount and you think no one's ever going to drink that. You're clearly just trying to play into your, rock star ego. But I found that was really interesting with the AC/DC because we're in this beautiful hotel and they had such strict requirements around, they didn't want any sauce, didn't want any oils. It all had to be this sort of steamed food.
Wow.
And you're
Prepared by a certain person.
Yeah, well, just probably the chef at the hotel. I mean, with a beautiful hotel in London, but it was just like, okay, right. I suppose the thing is with like who they are, they can ask for it, and often people go head over heels and
100%.
grab it for them.
I'm interested to know why you do what you do. Is it the same? Do you have different whys behind the business together?
I mean, look, we probably got into our careers for different reasons. I mean, my background's heavily PR and is heavily marketing. I think if I look back at my career when I started PR, it's because I've always had, I guess, a fascination with media and how it can shift and shape public opinion. I remember sort of learning a lot about propaganda during war, and I always had this interest around how that can really have massive impacts on people's understanding of what's going on. And so that kind of, I guess, sparked my interest in PR as a career in journalism to study. But I think for both of us, we're both really interested in people and understanding people, the whys behind the what, and spending time uncovering why people do what they do. I mean, we both feel quite privileged to be in an industry where we can take the time to understand the stories and shape it and tell other people about these stories. I'm speaking on behalf of you there.
And I think the exciting thing is how do those stories translate into real life experiences? I grew up actually as an actor and really loved drama and did a semester at NIDA before I realised this is probably not for me and I need to do something more serious with my life. But within that, it was all around how do you take that narrative and bring it into a beautiful experience that people want to really engage with. And I think that translates so well into hospitality, and probably why I naturally went to that space, purely because you get to really bring that theatre to every single touch point, not only just in the venue but outside of the venue. When you hear about it to when you tell about your friends, how is that experience kind of gone through the line from start to finish?
And I think as an industry, hospitality is brimming with amazing people from all walks of life. And I mean, whilst we don't necessarily, I don't think I can open a bottle of champagne, but most of my friends are incredible people within the hospitality industry. And I know we just naturally gravitate and spend time with people within the industry because there are so many amazing people within it. And I think we feel quite humbled to be part of something like this. So I think that's why we do what we do in the industry that we do it.
Yeah, and so full of life. You've probably nearly had 100 guests on this show, and all of them have such different perspectives and such a different energy that when you're together with them, it's infectious. And what I love about this industry is people want to get together. People want to develop new products and ideas in hospitality together, and it keeps it exciting.
Something that you said there just before, Andy, that resonates with me, and something that's come up on the program before, is hospitality is the only industry that engages all 5 senses as an art form. And you described there that it then translates beyond the venue experience as well, but that's just in venue that you have all 5 senses engaged. And so then there are potentially other technological ways of connecting with that audience beyond the venue later as well. So obviously, we've talked about social media, there's guests that have talked about that as well, but how do we create that incredible experience for guests long beyond their physical or prior to their physical venue experience? And I guess that's what you guys do. That's
Absolutely.
what you do as a PR company.
And I think for us as well, when we're looking at our role within the industry, working in marketing and brand and communications, we have a massive influence, I guess, around industry trends, profiling the right people, making serious changes. I mean, we work with a lot of our clients and educate them around who they should be putting forward for opportunities, making sure that there is more diverse lineups of talent that we can profile. Like often PR marketing and social media can be dismissed as being a little bit trivial, but in fact, we can actually play a really positive role in shifting some pretty ingrained cultural limitations as well.
And on the flip side, a lot of people would see marketing and PR as more of an amplification to what they're doing, as opposed to a channel that can really help inform something. And you know, a lot of our experience, both in our previous roles and at Example, is how do we actually identify an opportunity that can inform what the experience is or what the product is, or how something is reframed to be able to be better and to be able to actually engage with their audience. And I think that is so important to that beginning right through to the very end.
Because we inform a lot around even concept development. So being able to sort of understand brand at the very beginning is one of the first kind of steps. We worked with Miraval for many years, and whenever there was a new venue that had been acquired, we were straight in there and having these conversations. And as we continue to work with clients, the earlier you can consider the brand and the marketing and what needs to be done to be able to properly elevate this brand, the better the product is, because you have a much better understanding of actually who you're creating this concept for.
Yes. You mentioned something in your answer there before, Rebecca, about social media. I just want to ask, like, when should, because you said people have this sometimes a negative connotation associated with applying social media to their marketing. When should a brand be considering social media versus another channel to be amplifying or creating this message for their audience? Maybe this is an Andy question.
Yeah, this might be an Andy question. I think all brands have to consider social media. I don't think it's a channel that you can't consider anymore, or it's a choice to not consider. Social media has brought us closer to our customers than ever before. When I first entered into the market, the only channel that you had was pretty much an EDM, and you would do so much work for an EDM to only get to 1,000 people, whereas you have an opportunity to reach millions. And yes, there is never the perfect way with how you can use social media. But I always say with social media, you really want to make sure that it's quality over quantity, and that what you're putting out there is telling your brand story. It's just as much as somebody having a conversation with you and talking to you about your restaurant or your venue or your product. But you've got content and photography and videography that's now doing this. So you need to ensure that that photo is telling a million different stories at the same time. Yeah, social media is all about understanding what your narrative is and how you actually bring that to life, and how you actually get people to almost touch, feel, smell, all of that by looking at a video or looking at some photography or a piece of written word. And I think that's what we were saying before around how does that experience translate beyond. It's such a competitive market out there at the moment, and especially when it gets to social as well. So you really need to make sure that content transcends.
I want to push on the why a little bit more. What is that core inspiration that's the glue that's brought you two together that you're working towards? What's that vision that you two are working towards together?
Well, I mean, I think for us, I don't know if even this is specifically answering your question, but why we work so closely and well together is because we work very hard and we love working hard, but we also just want to produce great work.
What does that mean?
Bring together. Well, I think it's about changing culture or contributing to culture around how people, what they're doing. I mean, all of the industries that we work in are around enjoyment and people having a great time. And I think for us, that's how we live our lives. We're constantly eating out, drinking, consuming, listening to music. Life is there to be enjoyed. We're both extroverts. Well, you're actually an introvert, a closeted introvert. But we both thrive off other people's energy. We both are creatively minded, but we like bringing together people who are going to push ideas, challenge us, inspire us to be better. We're certainly firm believers that we're greater than the sum of our parts. And so for us, we don't want to always just be the best in the room. We want to bring together people who are even better, constantly pushing new ideas.
You mentioned there about great experiences, and you didn't use the word, but hedonistic nature of the hospitality industry. I mean, what constitutes a good experience changes over time as well. So does the way that you execute your business and how you roll that out for other businesses, does that change as well? And how has that changed?
Absolutely. I mean, our business has changed so much within 3 years. And that's because we've been adapting to our clients and new experiences, new channels of marketing, new ways to reach audiences. And so our team's evolved, our business has evolved. And at the same time, we've also evolved other businesses. And I think for us, as what Beck said, we are working with lots of brands that bring such enjoyment to people. And I think what we do is actually unlock that even further and actually finesse those experiences so more people can actually enjoy those brands. And I think with social media and all the different forms of marketing right now is that we can turn brands and great brands into cultural movements. We can give brands something more that can elevate them, that could have a voice and can actually mean something beyond just the food that they're putting on the table. And we always like to say, how do we actually turn a transactional type of relationship with a customer into a true blood fan? And I think that's why we exist and what we're wanting to do even more, but also just be able to push ourselves even further to create what is that next experience and how do we actually bring that through to our customers.
And I think if we look at us as business leaders, how does that translate to what we also do as a team and what we've created? I mean, for us, we have invested so much in our people, and we've realized the work is only as good as the people that are working for us. And, our industries are fast paced, that you need to be passionate about it. You need to be happy to work hard and get involved and kind of live and breathe the brands that you're working for. And so, you want to be able to foster an environment and culture that inspires that creativity, that inspires collaboration, that people genuinely want to be part of. And it's not just a job. And so I guess for us from day one, we've looked at what is it that we need to be doing as leaders to be able to bring out the best in our team. I mean, we've grown from the 2 of us to 17 in 3 years, and we're so lucky. I mean, we cannot believe the people that we've got with us, because they're just brilliant and they inspire us and challenge us to work. And I think that's really important, that you're kind of never resting on your laurels. The brands that we work for, you can't ever rest on your laurels. You always have to be looking for inspiration, getting creative input from other people and being open to new ideas, because otherwise it's very easy to, no longer be the shiny toy.
And what I love and what we both love about working and having our own agency is that we get to work across so many different exciting brands, and we get to have a seat at the table to really elevating those brands. And I think it's really important, especially in marketing and creative, that you just don't get tunnel vision, and that you can be surrounded by incredibly creative people that can expand your thinking and can challenge you and can push you further. And I think with the way that we've built our team, and talking about the incredible people in hospitality, we've built a team of people that have come and have been connected to hospitality in so many different parts. I mean, within our team of strategists, creatives, account directors, digital directors, and even our office manager, a lot of them are DJs, they're waiters, they're bartenders. Some of them have been chefs. Actually, we've got one that's currently studying all about nutrition. And so all of these different minds coming together that have such a good connection to hospitality and have those different perspectives that we spoke about are really giving us and even challenging us as directors to where we take the business and what we contribute back to our clients.
There are a lot of different themes that came up in your answer there, and I touch on them in questions a little bit later. I'm interested to know, how do you foster that environment of creativity in the office?
Most recently, we have created Example House, because that's a living, breathing example of that. But we had our own we started off in our own shared workspace. Then we moved into our smaller office, and we grew out of that relatively quickly, and we're looking at opportunities around where do we move to now, what's going to set us up for a long-term environment for our team. And we found this incredible space, which was an old Smash Repairs in Rushcutters Bay. And the 2 of us walked in that day and we were like, this is it, we have to make this work. It was a big ambition, but when we looked into the space, we saw very quickly that it could fit a lot more people than we currently had in our team. And so what we sort of decided to do was, again, touching on what Andy was talking about, collaboration is incredibly important. Example was founded by bringing together all the different people with strategists, creatives, PRs, marketing specialists, really bringing together different disciplines and thinking. So how can we then take that to the next step and actually bring in different people within our industries and create an environment that people can collaborate and get together to share ideas? And within that as well is you get so stuck sitting behind a laptop every day. It's so easy to get caught behind emails and to send emails. You just get kind of caught in these spaces. So for us, we've created a space where people can have loads of different little breakout areas. There's the bar where people can go and meet. There's the kitchen table, which is, again, that sort of idea where the best ideas are shared over a meal. So how do you create that in an office environment so you're not getting stale and, I guess, bored, really? Because you need to be able to, particularly in what we do, you need to be able to be getting out of just being stuck in an inbox all day.
Yeah, and beyond our team of 17 people, we work with lots of chefs, we work with lots of different designers, architects, interiors. We bring on different creatives based on different briefs. And by bringing those different people from the industry on into our thinking really helps us expand our mind even further. And when we developed Example House, we thought of why not create a co-working space for all of these consultants and different people that are connected to the industry under the one house, so we can foster more of that collaborative thinking outside of briefs. And it's been extremely successful for us. We're a full house now of 40 desks. We've got hospitality consultants, we've got hospitality recruiters, we've got interior designers, and we've got property developers that specialize in hospitality. And so already just within the people that we're surrounded by in this beautifully open shared office and shared almost venue, our thinking is being challenged every day.
But I think as on that note, like the two of us didn't just come up with this idea on our own and present it back to the team as this is what's happening. Like at every step of the way, we asked for input. When even deciding where the desks went, where people sat, it was a team decision. When you look at a culture of a team, it's very easy to say that that's a priority, and yet you tell staff what's happening and they have to go along with it. So every step of that process isn't even just creating an office environment, but then also, I guess, we call it our playbook, but how we operate within that space, the kind of house rules, if you like, has been a team decision, and therefore people have buy-in and it's what works for everyone, not just the two of us as directors.
On that team decision, there is a point there in which it becomes counterproductive to take every decision of the team. So I know there's obviously a balance there where you guys are making some decisions.
Yeah.
But there was a point in there that I want to come back to around in developing this environment for creativity that fosters creativity. You've touched on the fact that there's a design aspect to it and that the team has influenced that design. But then there's also the cultural aspect, which I'm interested in, and potentially the people involved in the space are contributing to that. What is it that really fosters that creativity within the inhabitants of this space? How do you generate that environment of creativity? Because you can put all these people in a space and it's not going to make it inherently creative. So how do you do that?
For sure. I mean, from a design perspective, everywhere you walk, it feels like you're in someone's house. And we've created every nook and cranny to be able to open up that creativity. We've got an incredible display book wall that has got, I think, over 50 different books on it that is opened on different pages. And every few weeks we change all those pages around to really lift up the space and lift up people's minds. We've got a lounge area where people can sit back and relax and be able to talk and bring together. We've also got an incredible bar and a kitchen that is constantly stocked and filled with all of the right foods and drinks that can inspire that creativity. That's from a design perspective. In terms of what we put on in the space, we are constantly bringing in different speakers, both from our clients and from our networks, to be able to give talks to both our staff and the people within the space. We put on regular share and learns where everybody in the space gets to share what they're working on, and as well as develop ideas to bring people together. We're hosting different events for different publishers.
Doing a Women in Design Awards night coming up.
And different community groups that could actually utilize the space to foster more idea-driven thinking. And so I think it's given us a big outlet to foster creativity, but more so it is such a beautifully visually appealing space that we also got to work on with hospitality architects Acme, which we've done a lot of work with in the past on different projects. But yeah, it's a visually appealing, so it's attracting lots of different people from outside of our industries and both within our industries that want to come and just be in there and utilize it. And I think within that fosters a lot more excitement.
I think even like we also prioritize things like we have Wellness Wednesdays where we try and encourage everyone to get out of the office. We put on different exercise classes just to get people out of the office and away from their computers for a while. We took the team really recently to a retreat where we did a lot of team development. We did a lot of personality profiling. And so there's things like that we look at as a team and a broader team, and being able to understand and encourage them to understand how everyone works differently and being really aware of how you can work with the different people within the team. We try and get away from, I guess, emails as well as much as possible and really kind of foster quick and easy conversations, because, you know, the more people can chat, the less time that's wasted.
And we're also encouraging our staff to be in our clients' venues a lot more. If it's either visiting on a regular basis or actually just working from a laptop within the space, so they can fully immerse themselves into that operation and what it is that they're truly selling. I mean, that is something that I was taught from a very young age. You know, you have to either work in a space or be in a space or fully understand it to be able to really go and sell sell it. And so that's something that we really push. But not only being in their spaces, we also invite a lot of our clients in to cook for us, to entertain us, to treat us, to educate us. And so that happens on quite a regular basis for our team to continue expanding their mind.
Fantastic. On expanding your mind, I'm interested to know where you're pushing forward. What are you learning about at the moment?
At the moment, culture and team culture is such a big thing for us. And I think as we're going into year 4 and as we're building a team of 17 people, we're really conscious that the culture stays incredibly strong and the work output keeps exceeding. And so our focus has somewhat been concentrated in that regard. As what can happen in today's culture, burnout is a very big thing. And with the sheer amount of brands that we're working on and
The pace that
we're working with, considering it's hospitality and
obviously
things are never so planned.
Team of 17 it's still a small team in the grand perspective. So
absolutely,
obviously they're across a lot of different brands
exactly,
too.
Yeah,
wellness is a very big thing. So recently we've brought on our own therapist in-house that is working with each of the different team members on a weekly basis to be able to work with them both personally and professionally to look at how they actually get more out of their potential.
Privately, so we fund that they have it once a month that they can meet with this person and have the conversations. We don't get that intel. It's not like we're trying to spy. But it's prioritizing their mental health, really. Yeah.
We're prioritizing their education. We're sending our creative team over to South by Southwest next week, which will be incredible for them, but also for our business and the insights that we can come back and deliver back to our clients, but also ensure that's part of our creative thinking moving forward and staying ahead of the curve when it comes to the briefs that we receive is quite interesting. And we're looking at other opportunities for across the business.
What about more personally though? What are you learning about or exploring at the moment?
Well, for me personally, a lot of it is around, now we're 3 years in, how do we focus less in the business and more on the business? And I think the challenge that both of us have is that we so love getting our hands dirty, and that's, I guess, how we've built our business so quickly. It's because we've been able to get involved and get things done quickly, but that's not sustainable for us or for any business. We really want to be able to invest in the team while still having a really good understanding of what we're doing and, I guess, final sign off and making sure that it's got our stamp. But ensuring, I guess, what has made Example, so much of it is the two of us. How do we instill that in a way that's not so reliant on us on a day-to-day level?
How do you do that? How have you been stepping towards doing that?
We have incredible people and we've been able to develop, I guess, different leadership tiers within our business. So we've got 2 incredible associate directors that focus on different departments within our business. That's translated into a senior team and then into our general team. And I think through that, by ensuring that they've all got their own responsibilities and that they're developing the teams underneath them and that we're all singing from the same tune and that we all instill the same values across the business, I guess having more of that clear ownership is helping us get to that greater vision.
It's sort of one of those things, isn't it? Like the builder's house is always the last to get finished. For us, client work will always be the priority, but we also need to really consider how we're operating as a business, both from a brand point of view, from growth point of view, but client service, efficiencies, process, culture. I mean, they're really kind of the key nuts and bolts, and it's very easy for that to kind of get left behind in place of work. And I think what you realize is that that's a very short-term solution because you can do as much work in a short period of time, but things will start to fall through the cracks. And so for us at the moment, we've done a lot of work around what are all those kind of key priorities, for example, as a business, but also how do we encourage a genuine sense of ownership and accountability within the team. So we did a lot of work and brought out what are those kind of key areas. And now everyone with the team has a key example responsibility within their JD, and they are developing their own strategies and plans and working with us on implementing that. So I think that's going to be a really exciting thing for us.
I think that's a really powerful way to give people ownership and control over something. A way I used to do that within my own teams was describe that, you are the queen of this domain.
Yes.
Like you are the king of this section.
Yes.
And people want that. They want to feel like they're contributing
100%.
to something. And particularly, we're really lucky that people genuinely love Example. They love each other. Like it's a really close-knit team. And they want to feel that they are contributing to our business because they're really proud of each other and the work that we all do. So I think that's been a really exciting thing. And it's been amazing that suddenly, you look at a lot of the tasks that we would have and think, oh my God, we're never going to get through it. Once you sort of, I guess, instill that ownership, some really easy changes that are implemented and have a massive impact on our business. And we talked around about how do we ensure that the business stays the business that we created, obviously evolving and improving, but really defining what those processes are and what example stands for and ensuring that that's filtered down is really key.
And people feel appreciated when they are responsible for those things as well.
Absolutely.
I'm interested to know what you're doing differently. Where are you innovating in the industry? Is it the hospitality industry? Is it PR? Is it media? Is there some sort of different way that you're operating that really stands out as an innovative process or system that you're implementing?
Yeah, so at the moment, we are bringing more of a holistic approach to our clients by trying to really identify what's unique about them. And obviously, every client is quite bespoke and quite different, and building an incredible, unique story about them and moving that into innovative products and innovative ways to talk to their customers once we've identified what that is. So yes, we're probably doing that differently for different clients. We are working on something ourselves with how we can actually innovate our approach and bring a new product and service to the hospitality industry, which we'll probably talk about later on. In terms of innovation, it's very much based on our clients, where they're willing to go, and obviously their budgets as well. We've done some incredible work in the space, but I think for our clients at our beginning years, it's all been around how do we actually just set them up as the general marketing foundations for them to be able to cut through, to really own their piece of culture and really take that to the next level.
I think as a business, we're also investing in a lot more strategy and insights on the industries that we work. So we now have an amazing head of culture, head of strategy and insights, and how we sort of doing a lot more thought leadership in that space to be able to understand our own audiences on a broader level to then inform what we do from a client-specific level. So I think that's really exciting. It's a big focus for us this year. And yeah, not necessarily with a specific client brief in mind, but how do we really do a lot more of our own research in that space?
In that, where are you pushing things forward? Generally, there's some sort of friction that you experience and then you want to change it. Obviously, you've talked a bit about culture, talked about team dynamics, the space design, the way that you do business, and finding innovative solutions. The words that you use in your answer there, Andy, other people will use, but the way that you described before about that is that it's an innovative process. So I'm trying to come to an understanding of what it is that then you're implementing, how you're pushing that conversation forward.
So I'd spoken a little bit about this before, but we're firm believers of changing the relationship between brands and customers. So moving away from this transactional relationship that lots of brands generally resort to something that is a lot more emotional. And so that is changing the whole paradigm of communication. And I think as we're getting on through the years, people are wanting to be able to connect almost as friends with brands as opposed to having this one-way relationship, which means that brands need to start talking less about their products directly. And so for us to be able to develop a bigger brand narrative around what this brand actually means beyond just their products, what is it that they stand for in terms of everything from their produce through to sustainability, through to their own culture, through to what they want to be involved in within culture, to how that's actually translated and how that's connected. And beyond just communication, I mean, there's other forms of how that relationship is being built. I mean, relationships and friendships are built on what you know of each other and that surprise and delight and how you can actually be able to connect with someone's feelings. And I think that's what we're really focusing on with how we actually bring brands to the surface when it comes to that. Some work that we've done probably on Talisker, where as opposed to just focusing on this whiskey, their brand story and their brand narrative is all around connecting with wild spirits. And that's not spirits in the product, but spirits of adventure. And so we've been able to develop some incredible activity around dark mofo, around bush cooking, around exploring the coasts of Australia and getting out and having more of an adventure through different forms and partnerships that we've developed and the way that we talk about that brand.
What do you think needs to receive attention that isn't receiving it at the moment as well? You're taking action on some things that you believe should see some attention. What are some things that maybe you can't act on at the moment that you'd like to see attention be placed on?
I think taking service to the next level. What I love about hospitality, and I got this from a very young age. I grew up in a hospitality business of my family's, and it was a very traditional hospitality business where service was key. You know, there was theatre at the table, there was mid-dining entertainment, and I think back maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago through the test of time, this whole idea of it being an experiential night out was at the key of every restaurant experience. I think that is kind of being brought back now, and we're kind of seeing a really standardized type of restaurant or food and beverage offering. And I'd like to see that be reintroduced and have service come from this nice pleasantries to something that is quite memorable and experiential. And I think as the world of Instagram is coming on and this experience-led culture that we have, you're going to see more and more of that coming through. There's some really great examples of things happening globally right now.
In what way? What sort of examples are we seeing?
There's a fantastic restaurant that I just went to in New York over Christmas called The Grill, and it's bringing that old world experiential dining to this new space. You've got this incredibly New Yorkan type restaurant that's been reimagined, and you've got chefs coming out to table and making fresh duck ragu by your side. You've got the ice cream being poured literally at your table. You've got the meat being cut at your table. And so this whole idea of having your senses run free, I think, is probably where experience can take dining to the next level.
It's interesting in your answer there because you described the theatre, and a lot of the time that theatre is displayed by front of house members, and what you're describing is a back of house team member creating that experience, connecting with the customer. And I guess that changed a lot with celebrity chefs coming in and changing how that performance takes place. Do you see front and back of house blurring a lot more? From your description there, I guess that's sort of what you might be describing as a future experience, but there have typically been more distinctive roles between front and back of house. Do you see that changing, or do you see that front or that facade or that theatrical face of a business being maintained quite distinctly from the back?
I think absolutely that's changing. Beyond just dining out, people want to be connected to the food that they're putting into their mouth. They want to be able to see it. They want to know more about it. They want to know where it comes from. They want to be connected to the person that's actually making it. And that's not just from the in-venue experience. That's from people like on their choice of which venue that they're going to go to. There has been a new wave of restaurants that are bringing that back of house to the front of house. I mean, the first I saw of it was probably Fred's in Paddington that really made its mark, where the whole kitchen is pretty much the dining room and you're sitting around the kitchen. And
I remember places like Chris Lucas's Chin Chin did that a long time ago as well.
Absolutely.
Places like that, obviously.
Yeah, and I think that is forming now part of this experience. I mean, it's a privilege to be sitting at the kitchen table whilst you're watching the incredible chefs behind that touch the food and make the food and interact with each other.
And having a very positive impact, I think, on the culture of kitchens as well, is because you can't have the crazy screaming matches behind closed doors like perhaps
in front of
once
guests.
could. Yeah.
I mean, some may, unfortunately. But the reason that I'm asking is because it's a very, very different skill set. Cooking the food and presenting that food to a guest are two very different things. So that's why I'm interested in your perspective there around how you see the future. Does that mean chefs have to be more skilled at that theatrical experience? Or do front of house members have to understand cooking the food more?
Not necessarily, because I think service should be a thing that's shared amongst all hospitality employees, both back of house and front of house. And I think by blurring those lines, it's ensuring that service is at the forefront of everything that they're doing. If it is cooking the food to if it is actually bringing out that food and putting it on the table, I think that experience is really important. And I think it's also being quite transparent to the customer around what is actually going into the dish and how is that translating into how you're serving me.
One thing that I would like to see more of, I think it's been incredible that in recent years that there has been an increased interest in profiling women in the industry, but I think there is an inherent sexism with which women are chosen. Often it is the young women entering the industry when there have been a lot of incredible older women who have been paving the way. And I think that there's a lot of older generation of men that are profiled much more freely than some women who've been, as I said, doing remarkable things. So I think when you're profiling women and looking for women to be included in festivals or in editorial articles, it doesn't necessarily just have to be the young, those women are fantastic,
100%.
Don't get me wrong, but I've seen so many incredible women who just get ignored because they've been in the kitchens for a few generations,
100% or a bit longer, right? I 100% back that. What I'm about to say, I'm not trying to diminish that in any way, shape or form. in the same way that younger women tend to be hired more quickly and women who are a little bit older are discarded, in the same way, men can also be discarded from those younger roles, particularly places like nightclubs or places where they're trying to attract masses of people and a younger audience. They tend to hire certain demographics more quickly depending on what they're looking for. I want to come back to the broader point that you made there. I think there needs to be more attention on women in the industry. But the way that you put that was interesting as well, that older women and more skilled women need to be looked at more appropriately as well. Very interesting points. Who tells each of you when you're wrong?
I think both Andy and I are very open to feedback. So we've created a culture where people can feel like they can come to us and have those conversations in a respectful way. I mean, we do things like every couple of months we do stop, start, keeps where the team can actually provide feedback on us as leaders, which is just so incredibly productive.
What's stop, start, keep?
So stop, start, keep is a way of giving feedback, I guess. What should we stop doing, start doing, and keep doing? We frame it around as a leader, and that is incredibly productive. That's how we shape our ongoing conversations with the team as well. So to have, I guess, that opportunity to get it back is great. I mean, Andy and I were both pretty transparent with each other as well. I think we're really lucky in that I think we think very differently and approach things very differently, but we always end up in the same spot. And it's like a marriage, isn't it? Like there's a lot of the time, like, you know me very well, you know how to push my buttons, vice versa. But I think we are in a very privileged position to have each other to constantly have those conversations with and not be afraid to have those conversations. As a leadership team, we've got our 2 associate directors as well. And I think as well, just our clients. We're constantly having these conversations with our clients at the end of campaigns. What can we be doing better? How do we better work as a team? How do we better partner with you? I mean, we very much, having been in-house and worked with agencies in the reverse, we've built our business around being a genuine partner and being as integrated as possible. So that kind of conversation needs to kind of come through along the way.
And that honesty and transparency filters down. And for us, it's very important that we built our culture on honesty. And we have that not only just with us, but through the line with all of them and all of the staff and team. They're constantly giving that feedback to each other too. And we're trying to really foster an environment where they can give that feedback in a really nice, safe place.
How do you do that? Because there are techniques to create environments where feedback is, in addition to being encouraged, in a healthy and constructive way. So how do you go about creating that sort of environment for feedback?
So we have regular sessions that are focused purely on our team performance and individual performance. That's done in both one-on-ones with both the leader and the staff member, but also as a team. So we will generally have lots of reviews, probably quarterly, when we look at the team as a whole and we look at, okay, as a team, what have we done really well? What could be better? What are some things that are counteractive to our performance and that we need to work on? But then also together, we do lots of exercises where, okay, we're going to go around the table right now and you're going to write one stop, start, keep for everybody around the table. And we foster that. And we've brought in leadership coaches and we've done personality-based sessions, etc., with the team on how to work with different personalities and how to understand different personalities. And that's been really integral to the way that we build our own sub-teams within the business and filter that culture.
And also, I mean, we don't ever, if there is an issue, we kind of jump on it straight away and not let things fester. And I think having each other allows us to sort of jump on things quite quickly and also just align on our thoughts before going back to people. But I think it comes down to trust and respect. I mean, as we said, like, we're really transparent with our financials with the team. There's no kind of really closed door meetings. Any decisions around expansion plans or staff changes, we bring the team in on that pretty early, because I think the more kind of closed doors you have, the more secrets and Chinese whispers happen, and that just fosters that sense of fear. So I think that's really, really important. And with that also comes respect. We're telling you this information because we trust and respect you to also make the best decisions for us as a team. So I think that's really helped.
And the two-way dialogue with our clients is super important. So on a regular basis, we'll get together and review the relationship and be able to get as much feedback as we can from them and vice versa.
You say regular basis. How regular is that?
Well, we do. I mean, we obviously have like regular catch-ups with the team, with our clients, sort of more on, I guess, day-to-day basis or on a campaign basis. But at the end of every campaign that we work on, we'll do in-depth closeout reports where it's sort of learnings, opportunities, considerations, and we're pretty reflective around what we could be doing better in that space.
And we do formal quarter reviews industries.
for our retainers. Yeah.
In addition to the end of campaign reports.
I mean, it depends as like how we're working with those clients. So some clients are on a project basis, others are more like retainer and quarterlies make sense.
Normally I have a question here around asking who do you ask for advice, but instead I'm going to shift that into brands that maybe you've modeled your own business development from. Who do you look to that you've taken lessons from in your own business development? Are there any businesses that you've looked to or models that you've taken from other brands? They can be in hospitality, they could be outside media, somewhere else. Businesses you've looked to take some lessons from in your own business development.
Mine probably aren't businesses specifically, but I have taken a lot of inspiration from other female leaders. I think it was quite interesting to go into business with a man because obviously we naturally approached our leadership very differently. And I think when I started the business, I put an expectation on myself to, I guess, change what naturally came to me. So obviously my people-pleasing qualities or always kind of wanting to be nice and do things in that way. And so I had a bit of an identity crisis, I think, when I opened the business around how do I best operate. You know, I felt like I needed to come in much more ballsy and aggressive in those sorts of things. I sort of spent a lot of time understanding amazing women that are very successful, like Sheryl Sandberg did a whole book called Lean In, which is all around how you can lean into your female qualities and be a great leader, someone like Brené Brown. And that really helped me become much more confident in who I was as a female leader. And I think what that has done is really help the two of us work together and understand that we do come at things differently. And sometimes we need to tap into each other's, I guess, natural tendencies in dealing with situations to come up with the best possible solution. And that's okay. So I think that's sort of something that for me has been a real focus and being a female business owner.
And for me, it is on other brands in other industries, but more so ones that have a really strong lifestyle proposition beyond just their products. Some of those brands are Corona with their lifestyle proposition, Nike with Just Do It, Deus with this whole motorcycle lifestyle proposition. It's forcing their fans to actually build brand affinity and brand love beyond just their products, but because they associate themselves with this lifestyle or with this cultural territory that they're informing. And I think there's so much in that we bring through to how we actually develop hospitality brands and travel brands to have that bigger meaning.
That is a really interesting answer. Thank you for sharing that as well. I'm interested to know, what's your biggest challenge right now?
Our biggest challenge right now is spend money budgets. And I think as hospitality, especially in this country, is getting a lot more fierce, a lot more competitive, but also a lot harder to sustain considering the high costs of produce, the high costs of staff and high costs of labor. There really doesn't leave much left to be able to go and build brands and build a bigger voice, but you have to because there is so much competition. So we're starting to really think about what is the future of marketing and communication and looking at other industries to how do we actually remodel that and be a catalyst for change with how people can actually start to build and develop their own IP when it comes to brand and communication. So that could be sustainable for them.
How have those successful businesses changed in the time that you've been working in the industry? The businesses that survive have different qualities themselves. What have those qualities been and how have they changed?
I think the qualities have been that the business has been built from a really strong vision from the very beginning, and there has been no shortcuts into how those businesses are developed. Having a very transparent premium offering is what people are after these days, and they're after to being able to understand that their produce comes from a good place, that the staff serving them have been treated well, that they also have something that they're also giving back into our planet and into our world. And I think that kind of comes through every single touch point so people can actually really connect, but connect with meaning, as opposed to brands that may have done that at a half-baked level and have always tried to catch up on themselves by trying to reinvent constantly.
Mm-hmm. What plans do you guys have moving forward and looking forward? What are some steps that you guys are going to be taking in the near future?
So we have just opened a new office in Brisbane. Queensland is a big focus area for us. There's so much happening in Brizzy. It's really exciting to see a space where the government's making it as easy as possible for new businesses to open, particularly in hospitality. So that's kind of a really key, exciting area for us. I think we touched on before around how do we drive more example-led thought leadership research into the industries that we play.
And also tech. So as I was just saying, around around the relationships between customers and brands. For us, I think tech has been slow to evolve in the hospitality space. There is lots of different tech currently in the space, but nothing that really brings it all together. And I think the hospitality industry needs to really look to other industries to how they're utilizing AI and how AI can actually start to really inform the types of businesses that we create, the types of products that we put to market, how we build stronger relationships with our customers. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to understand how many times a customer comes to a venue, what their allergies are before they even come in, what products do they like to have, what is their favorite drink, how do they like their meat served. And I think by understanding that about each individual that walks into the door will allow us to build better relationships and stronger relationships to keep them coming back, as opposed to spending the amounts of money on marketing and social and content and all of those different things.
So you said tech there as well. Is that something that you guys are working on?
We're investing in, yeah.
It's currently something that we're investing in, and it is something that we could offer as a new product to our clients that can really change the shape of marketing and communication in this industry tomorrow.
Fantastic. I have one last question for you guys. Who would you like to hear on the show?
I am a very big fan of this person. He was a mentor for mine for a very long time, and he will be for the foreseeable future. I think he's got a really great vision on hospitality, but not only just on hospitality, but on experience in this country. But I would like to say Justin Hemis.
I would like to say Paige from the Coleman's Academy. I don't know if you've actually spoken to her yet, but she is an absolute trailblazer. She's not only an incredible bar talent, but she's really championing women in the hospitality industry by creating an ongoing series where women can get together, share stories, hear, meet, and kind of, I guess, foster that connection. And that's only going to strengthen the voice of women in the industry, which I think has still got a long way to go. So Paige is an absolute legend and hero of mine.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for being on the program.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
This program is hosted by James Henderson, with technical production by Jake Olver. Voiceovers were by Angus Brennan and Shim Phelan. Thanks to our distribution team, led by Stephanie Holland, and a special thanks to you for tuning in every week. This program was produced by H Media. We'll see you soon.